The Ducati SCORE Baja 2000 is brought to you by AutoZone, the right part, the right price, and good advice. And by Fabtech, your 2- and 4-wheel drive suspension specialist. And by APP Forged one-piece wheel, light and strong for rugged performance.
Welcome to the Speed Vision Desert Racing Series and coverage of the AutoZone Ducati Baja 2000. This historic event is the final race in SCORE International's Duralast 2000 point series, and believe it or not, the championship is still up for grabs. This is the longest and richest desert race in history. Hello again, everyone. Todd Harris, along with two legends of the sport, of course, LR, Larry Rossler, 12-time winner of the Baja 1000, and his partner in this race, the Ironman Ivan Stewart. Ivan, first of all, for you, the whole point behind this race, other than putting you guys through pain, is what?
Well, I think just the fact, Todd, that the Baja 1000 became the 7th best-known race worldwide. Everybody's heard about the Baja 1000. The fact that we're doing 2,000 miles, I mean, that's double the adventure, right? The fact that we're going point-to-point, nonstop, the longest off-road race in the history of the sport. The fact that we're bringing out the legends of the sport, Walker Evans, Malcolm Smith, Rod Millen's come out, Elliott Ford Robinson, Frank Arceo Jr. A lot of the guys that haven't raced a lot. IndyCar drivers, Jimmy Vasser, Roberto Guerrero, Mike and Jeff Groff. You know, the fact that P.J. Jones is here. You know, I think it's going to be fantastic for the sport. The fact that we have 31 states, 11 countries represented, I think it's going to be the biggest, baddest off-road race you've ever seen. Can't wait.
Well, you've covered the name. I'll turn to your partner now. Let's talk about what you'll be facing, basically Mexican desert, and you know this is just tough terrain.
Well, Todd, the Baja 1000 times 2. I mean, that says it all right there. We're going from Ensenada to Cabo San Lucas. We're going to be zigzagging our way down the peninsula from coast to coast 8 different times. Not to mention from mountains to deserts. I mean, there's places where first gear is not low enough, and there's places 130 miles an hour is not fast enough. Not to mention we've had a lot of rain. There's places on the course just a few days before the start of the race, you still can't pass. It's still impassable. There's going to be 23 checkpoints. We have 262 entries. And then for the leaders, 30 hours to the finish line is going to be a welcoming sight, but for some of the competitors, it'll be nearly 80 hours for them. Definitely the race of the millennium.
The course, nearing 1,700 miles, heads east out of Ensenada into the muddy coastal mountains and on to El Alamo. There it turns west to Santo Tomas and the Pacific. Then 263 miles through San Quintin to Caravina as the sun sets. In the dark, it's 198 miles down the coast to Rosarito and across the peninsula to the Bay of Los Angeles. Then west, back across the Baja to Guerrero Negro and south along Baja's spine to the halfway point, San Ignacio. Just a Baja 1000 left to go, and they've been racing almost 20 hours. By Laredo, 219 miles south, and then back on the Gulf, the sun's coming up. Then it's 4 trips back and forth across the peninsula again, through Insurgentes, Puerto Cancun, Constitucion, La Soledad, and Las Positas to La Paz, 385 miles. Now just a SCORE San Felipe 250 to go. From La Paz, it's back across Baja for the 8th time to Todos Santos, and 65 miles south to the finish in Cabo, sometime Monday evening for the front runners. Well, I am already dragging, and we're just getting started. From our Hummer vehicle's sky camera, we see the starting line here on the waterfront at the Ensenada Convention Center. Unlimited trucks are first off. The first off the line will be Craig Corda, Jeff Stowers, Alex Borland. Their Ford is from Calexico, California, and they get the enviable task, gentlemen, of being the first ones off the line for this very monumental event.
Well, Todd, all the rain we had the night before, being first off and the muddy conditions leaving town, I bet you they're pretty happy with their start position. Right
behind him, Mark Miller, 38 from Phoenix, Arizona, teamed up with Ryan Arciero, 27 out of Laguna Hills, California.
Listen to that engine saying, now that's that straight 6 Vortec engine that makes, what, 600 horsepower or so.
Robbie Gordon, 31 from Orange, California, in the CD2 engine treatment Ford, teamed up with Rob McCachran, and they are heading into the mud so much for that paint job.
Robbie's also got his dad, Bob, teamed up with him. Robbie gets through sideways there.
Wow, look at the crowd this turnout. This is just tremendous support. Back to the starting line, Larry Ragland, 57 out of Phoenix, Arizona, teamed up with Ivan's son, Brian, from Long Beach. First time Larry has shared the driving chores, and Ivan, he didn't give you the inside scoop before the race, did he?
No, he didn't. Oops, he gets those sideways also in the mud, boys.
Look at all that mud. I mean, these trucks are, I mean, it's unbelievable how well prepared they are and clean, and then 30 seconds after the start line, they're mudded out.
Unbelievable.
Larry's going to go all the way to San Quintin, and then Brian will get in.
This is Dick Sasser getting off the line, 55 from Angeline, California, teamed up with Gene Carriol and Phil in Albany. And that's a 625 horsepower Jeep Grand Cherokee 4-wheel drive.
it could be interesting now, Larry. If we get more rain down south, I mean, you could have a big advantage with a four-wheel drive. You agree?
Well, absolutely. The four-wheel drive is a big advantage, especially in this mud. But the only drawback is the front wheel travels quite a bit less. It's only 20 inches.
Dan Smith, 36 from Riverside, California, teamed up, as always, with Dave Ashley. This is an experimental 600 horsepower overhead cam Ford engine, the Ford 150. Dan drives all the way to Rancho San Ynez. That's 460 miles in the seat, Larry. That's a long time.
It's a long ways down there.
This is Team Gordon's CD2 Ford with Robbie Gordon driving. He has moved past the Ford team. And it looks like the number 81 Miller Arcero Trailblazer is in some deep wheat. Could be there for a while. You're watching the Tecate AutoZone Baja 2000. Stay tuned for more action from the wilds of Mexico in a moment. And welcome back to the AutoZone Tecate Baja 2000 start. And this is Terrible Herb's Unlimited Ford. Tim will drive all the way to San Ignacio, 910 miles, where his 39-year-old brother Ed will take it to Cabo San Lucas. And that is a long-time gentleman for both of them in the seat, even though they are experienced.
Well, a lot of the teams are splitting it up into quarters, and they've decided just to split it up into 50-50.
Which is kind of odd. I mean, that's a long way to drive. Plus, that's a four-wheel drive vehicle, you guys, so let's keep an eye on that if the weather changes.
Well, if I was putting money down on Vegas, this is the car I'd drop it on. Ivan Stewart and Larry Rossler, number 11 in the Toyota Tundra, A-arm suspension, front and rear. And gentlemen, not to toot your own horns, but this is a finely tuned vehicle.
It is. It's fantastic. And I think Larry agrees. It doesn't have the horsepower some of the other cars does, although it's sufficient, but it's very agile. Would you say, Larry?
Absolutely. Very power-to-weight ratio is very nimble.
Right behind you, another beautiful truck. Mark Post, Riviera Racing Ford, teamed up with Jerry Welchel. Again, these cars are absolutely beautiful, and I hate to split hairs, but gosh, it's terrible what they're doing to them in the first mile.
Isn't that a shame?
Well, the people sure love it. Yeah, Mark's going to drive to San Quintin, and then Frank's going to get in and drive to San Ignacio. So, you know, three drivers here, they're going to split it up into sections.
Boy, look at the crowd that has turned out for this. We see some great crowds at the Baja 500, but nothing like this. They get so close. Larry, Ivan, is it dangerous? Does it make you nervous to see how close they are at the speeds they're carrying?
For me, anyway, and I'm sure Larry agrees, I think he was, especially when you hit the mud or some of the areas where the car gets real loose. If it's straight and stable, it's all right, but, you know, when it gets muddy, it makes me a little nervous.
Mike Griffiths from Westminster, Colorado, teamed up with Pete Essler. Now, they founded Match Logic, an internet research company recently bought by Excite at Home. 700 horsepower Ford F-150. This is a new team. Let's take a moment and find out about Raptor Racing.
Well, the new team is called Raptor Racing. We have a new trophy truck. We really like to promote to kids. We love it when, you know, we love to see the kids smile.
We got started, my partner Pete Essler and I were flying down to Cabo a couple of years back, and I mentioned to him that, I said, you know, they race across that. And he goes, yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do.
And I said, well, I'll tell you what, if I'll pay for the new team, I will pay for a team if you manage it. And that's really how we got started.
The goal for this year was to be predictable and consistent, finish a lot of races, and going forward we want to shoot for wins.
You know, we started off in the Pro Truck Series and now we're moving up to trophy trucks. Mike is an extremely talented driver.
The trophy truck is incredibly stable. It's wide, there's a lower center of gravity. You can throw it into a corner much more aggressively than you can with, for example, a Pro Truck. The power difference is dramatic. It feels like you have a rocket motor strapped to your back.
As we move up to trophy truck, there's whole new challenges, and we're really excited about that.
Excite sponsors Eddie Cheever's IndyCar team. So when Excite bought Match Logic, the Motorheads got together, and Eddie never goes anywhere without his helmet.
He's a good friend. We tell him a lot about off-road racing. We sort of piqued his interest, I think, convinced him to come down to give it a try. You know, it won't hurt.
That is really hard to keep it straight. You're always overcorrecting. You just gotta let it go and think, it's okay, that's not a telephone pole on the right.
It's not so.
Yeah, that thing will go away. No, that's not somebody standing within 30 yards. I couldn't do that, people standing in front like that. That'd drive me nuts.
You don't even see them.
Really?
You don't see them.
That's fun. And the faster you go, the better it handles. But there's a limit to that. I've learned that in other forms of racing. That was fun, thank you.
Back to racing action in the Baja 2000. The truck has looked better, but right now it's running great. Ivan, you just passed Walker Evans in some very tough terrain.
Well, we got out of town's the main thing, kind of out of the mud. But yet, you know, it's a little bit rocky, but just moving along, everything feels really good.
This is Tim Herbst, also on the action, that big four-wheel drive, moving along.
Remember, Todd, we talked so much about dust and off-road racing. Here we have no dust, great conditions for everybody to run up on each other. So obviously, I mean, that's a big advantage for Ivan.
It doesn't get any better than this, Larry. Just great tacky soil.
On board with Mark Post, Riviera Racing. It's kind of a love-hate relationship with that rain. You hate it because it creates so many mud pits and quagmires, but it also holds the dust down, allows you guys obviously to go a lot faster.
It really does. Brakes work better, accelerates better, stay on the road.
Well, here's a vehicle to be reckoned with. Number 100 Class 1 start in car with Troy Herbst, 34 out of Las Vegas, Nevada, the 700 horsepower Mike Smith-built Truggy. Now, Troy's in an important points battle with Gary Wyrick, Becky Freeman, and Sammy Ehrenberg for the year 2000 SCORE overall points championship, and you know he's taking this race very seriously.
Well, everybody had their own game plan, and apparently they feel that if he drives halfway, hands it over to Jimmy in good shape, they feel they can take it to the finish and win that way.
And this is Damon Jeffries. As you pointed out before, Larry, he is Mr. Consistent.
He really is. Teamed up with Rick Romans.
Gary Wyrick, 33. Gresham, Oregon. Long way from home, right?
They've been real consistent also. They've been, well, like we mentioned earlier, they're in the points battle with Troy for the championship.
And this is Gus Vildosola.
Gus has teamed up with Charlie Waters again. They've been consistent all year, running strong.
You are watching Speed Vision's Desert Racing Series coverage of the AutoZone Tecate Baja 2000. We'll be right back with more action. Stay with us. Welcome back to the AutoZone Tecate Baja 2000. We're on board Dick Sasser's Wild Unlimited Cherokee. Just minutes off the start, Dick had this to say about racing here in the 2000.
So some places on this course where you won't be able to get any type of help whatsoever. Up in the front, about 600 miles south of here, below Catavina, some really tough places. So in those places, we need to kind of tiptoe through that area and then put our foot down where we can do our fastest runs and just take our time in the rough areas.
Back to the starting line. This is a Class 8 start with Kurt Ledoux, Cherry Valley, California, teamed with his 19-year-old son, Kyle, and Austin Robinson from Bermuda Dunes, California.
Well, it's a good-looking vehicle, and I know the Southern California Jeep Dealer Association have to be proud of this vehicle. Jeep Cherokee Sport.
Yeah, Kurt's a really, been around a long time. Does a lot of racing on the East Coast.
Class 10 start, Don Hatch, 37 from Brea, California, teamed with Whit Courtney and Ben Schleimy. Lucky Motorsports Honda-powered Jimco off the line here in beautiful Ensenada on a perfect day for racing.
Ron Brookshire from 34 from Alpine, California, the same city I come from. Came with his brother Travis, Greg Wright, Vic Bruckerman.
How some of these open-wheel cars are going to handle the mud in their face.
They're going to get a lot of those.
Here are the Pro Trucks. Rick Johnson from Barstow, California, teamed up with Rob Reinertsen. And Rob bought this truck. He'll campaign it in the 2001 SCORE and Best in the Desert Series.
Actually, Rick's got a great deal. He sold the truck to Rob, and then he gets to prep it and drive it. So it's he gets the best of both worlds here.
And an opportunity to win the championship.
You betcha. For the third year, I got to mention that Rick has won the championship the last 2 years in Pro Truck and leading this year. So he's got a great race ahead of him here. It could come down to the next two races, so it could be tough.
He's got a lot of great competition, including this man, Scott Steinberger, 32 from Cypress, California, team with Jay Reichert from Albuquerque, New Mexico. We have a new sponsor from Lycos. A lot of the .com folks getting involved. It's Ford F-150. That's a beautiful truck, folks. Look at the paint job while you can, because what do you guys say, about 200 yards it'll be gone?
Or less.
Boy, the fans really turn out for this.
Well, the fans are always, they're big race fans in Mexico.
What a great place to bring a beautiful truck and run it through mud.
We talk about how close these trucks will really be close to the finish line. They're all the same chassis, same wheels, same tires, just a driver's class. So we always see that, we get down to the end, down toward La Paz, it's going to be really a battle.
Back to the starting line. Class 7 Unlimited Light Truck start. This is Jeff Lewis from San Clemente, California. He's teamed up with Ted Honeycutt Jr. from Mission Viejo, California. Craig Turner's Dirt Pilot Class 7 Ford Ranger. Jeff Quinn will take some ride time, as will Craig Donahoe, Tim Cecil. Class 1-2 1600 start. Sammy Ehrenberg single seat Jimco. Ronnie Wilson is starting. Sammy will drive from Santa Rosalita to the finish. And right on cue, bring up the pink car. Starting is B.J. Almberg. Becky is tied with Troy for the SCORE Overall Points Championship. Now the team includes Almberg, Mark Bunderson, Adam Wick, and of course Becky. Individual competition. This is a Baja Challenge class start. 8 identically prepared two-seaters were available for rent-a-rides. And this is the team of Mike Brock, Jimmy Vassar, Jason Nash.
That's a new vehicle. It's a new look for us to see at a race.
It really is, and to have these new guys come into off-road racing is fantastic.
Great opportunity to get to see the race course.
Stock full-size truck class start, and that is Rod Hall 62 out of Reno, Nevada, teamed up with his son Chad and Roger Norman. This is an amazing fact. Rod has raced in every Baja 1000 since 1967.
Well, I tell you.
That is amazing.
I think it's great. That's one of the unique things about off-road racing, Todd, is the fact that there's so many different classes, so many variety of race cars and Hummers, and boy, you name it, we got a place for everybody.
Well, his vehicle, it has a 6.5 liter diesel power.
Wow.
He won't
Power
get stuck.
plants. He's not going to get stuck.
This is a Class 3 start, stock, short wheelbase 4x4s. Clive Skilton, 59 from Orange, California. Clive is teamed in the SoCal Jeep Dealers Association Grand Cherokee with John Kearney and Billy Bunch. And this will be another 6 versus a V8 battle. Jeep really get involved.
They may have 2 less cylinders, but I tell you what, they have plenty of experience between the 3 of them.
There's a lot of experience in that race car right there.
Clive getting away, making his way into the mud pit of death. The fans have not turned away. Look at that. The folks on the side are still relatively clean as we go out of the course. And this is Gus Vildosola on board. And this is something you don't see in this long of a race, gentlemen. We've got, what, 4 or 5 cars bunched up right here?
Well, the reason that's happened is that coming up the highway just prior to the wash here, they bunched a lot of the cars up and escorted us up to this point. So now it's like a, gosh, it looks like a stadium race, really, like we used to do in the Mickey Thompson series.
For like a yellow flag and a restart, huh?
That's exactly right.
Looks like a scene out of Road Warrior. Look at this. The fans still on the side of the road. This is great racing right here. Look at that. Back with more SCORE Baja 2000 after this short break. This is the Lyco Sky Camera shot, the CD2 Menard Ford of Robbie Gordon, Bob Gordon, and Rob McCachran. Looks like they're in the Ojos Negros Valley.
Larry Ragland, he's 2nd overall.
Vortec Trailblazer.
I think everybody's still pretty bunched up here.
Pretty bunched up. You know, the pace again is a little brisker than what I would have thought. We're having rolling hard. I wanted to really.
Speaking of bricks, Ivan, you're putting that thing on 2 wheels almost, and you've got, who is that in front of you? Dan Smith?
No, Dan Smith. And you know, what you want to do is get by these guys any way you can, as quick as you can, because every time I'm in the dust, not in the dust, but in the mud, but I'm getting rocks in my face, and it's tougher to pass, so I got a little option here. I get by.
Working the road.
Well, that was a great opportunity to make a pass, clean pass.
And it worked out perfect.
Here's Troy Herbst leading Class 1 field and picking off the Unlimited trucks. He's passed 11 so far. Let's take a moment to hear Troy's thoughts on the 2,000 points championship.
There's enough pressure on yourself just to finish this race, and then they add the Class 1 championship on it, and the overall championship. All I can do is wish the best for Becky and Gary in Class 1, and, you know, it's just whoever gets down the peninsula with the least amount of problems and who has the best pit support down there, and I'm really confident in our team.
And here's our leader, Team Gordon, and they are absolutely flying, gentlemen. Get out the radar clock. How quick is that?
Well, that's definitely Robbie Gordon showing off a little bit for the spectators. Got to remember, there's 1,700 miles of race left.
That's too fast for this particular section this early in the race, I'd say.
Dan Smith with their last 4, just 1:46 back on the course. Ivan coming through, 25 seconds behind Dan Smith, and Larry Ragland just 3 seconds behind Ivan.
We've got a real freight train going. Everybody just kind of picking away. Notice it's getting a little dusty now, too. We start to loosen the soil up.
Class 1 leader Troy Herbst with Todd Gorsuch riding shotgun. 4:32 behind Gordon on the course through Ojos Negros. So far, so good. A lot of glare coming off now. It's a clear day, not much wind. We talked about the dust being a factor, but does sun get to be a factor at some point?
Well, it really does, depending on how the angle and your a lot has to do with how your goggles and your helmet shield set up, and if you're going into the sun.
Yeah, early morning, typically, you know, the sun's right in your eyes. It could be definitely a problem.
This is Tim Herbst and A.J. Martin running 45 seconds behind. We saw them with a flat tire. They've got that repaired, and they are up and running. And this is Mark Post, 43, from San Juan Capistrano, team with Frank Arciera and Jerry Wolchel. Won this year's SCORE Prim Las Vegas 300. Looking for more. Charlie Waters and Gus Valdoslo's V6 powered Jimco. And this is a Class 8 leader, Kirk Leduc from Cherry Valley, California. Now, earlier we talked with Clive Skilton about this new Jeep team.
California Race and Rally is our new team that we've formed to specialize in all-terrain races and rallies. Well, how did it all start? Right. It's a long story, but in 1947, as a 6-year-old kid, I went to the first British Grand Prix at Silverstone after the Second World War and saw all the greats like, you know, Fangio and Hawthorne and all those guys racing, and you know, I was hooked. So then when I was 16, I was back at Silverstone and I was racing, road racing motorcycles, 500cc bikes. Then I went to sports cars, and then I ended up with a dragster, which was really something unusual in England, because Mickey Thompson and all the guys came to England in '64 and did this display of California dragsters. And then in the 70s, I came over here and campaigned a top fuel car with the NHRA and did the Winston tour. Then when I got in becoming a Jeep dealer, obviously I had to try something new, and that's racing Jeeps. And where do you race Jeeps? Well, you race them in the Baja, right? We have this car in Class 3. It's currently number 2 in the points championship. And then Kurt Leduc, who's one of the greatest drivers in America in off-road today, he's driving in Class 8, which is modified trucks. Now this is 2-wheel drive vehicles, so he has a 2-wheel drive Jeep Cherokee, 6-cylinder, going up against the 8 cylinders. But it's a great car. Kurt's a great driver, knowledge of the Baja. The Jeep is a well-sorted car. You know, in Kurt's words, he said he's going to give them fits.
Well, Clive Skilden and myself have a long history of, you know, campaigning, you know, the Jeep vehicles in the desert here in the Southwest, and we're using all that experience, the same people, the same chase people, same logistics that we've used to have some great success in the past, and in this year 2000, the Baja 2000 is just a bigger and better challenge, and we'll see if the rest of the world's up to it, but we know this team and these Jeep vehicles are ready for it.
Back at Ojos Negros, Pro Truck leader Scott Steinberger teamed with Jay Reichert, the Lycos Ford F-150, and we talked with Scott about his thoughts on this historic event.
After Bay of LA is when the race starts. The course is very technical, very wet the first half of the race, or the first 700 miles, and I think if we hit the Bay of LA safe, then we can really pick up the speeds from there.
Well, you know, I kind of agree with that. You know, to be patient, just a long, long race.
Second Pro Truck coming through. This is Rick Johnson, Rob Reinertsen Ford, 10:20 behind the Lycos Ford on the course. So far, so good as we go on board, and Ivan, the Pro Trucks so far have lived up to their name. They are a class of themselves.
They're doing a fantastic job. Again, I keep talking about how hard it is to be disciplined to continue to race the course opposed to the other competitors.
Well, here's Ron Brookshire in the Class 10 Challenge for Cure entry. You are watching the AutoZone Ducati Baja 2000. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Ducati Baja 2000, and here's our new overall leader at Santo Tomas, Larry Ragland. He is in the 2001 Chevy Trailblazer, and they are absolutely flying, but don't get too comfortable. Right behind, our own Ivan Stewart, 145 miles into the race, and you're only 11 seconds behind Larry Ragland. Obviously, you know where he is.
Well, we really do. You've got great radio communication. I can see his dust. Just a matter of not letting him get away, just letting him know that I'm still with him.
Right behind you, the CD2 engine treatment Ford of Robbie Gordon glued to the back of the Toyota. That team will make a driver change here with Rob McCachran getting in. Shouldn't lose too much time there. They don't want to give up too much time because behind him, the team of Smith and Ashley, the Duralast Ford. Team is owned by off-road veteran Dick Landfield, a Southern California Ford dealer, and so far so good, Larry.
Yeah, they're definitely sticking with their game plan. Nice, smooth pace.
Tim Herbst on the move, running 5th in class. The big 4-wheel drive vehicle just flying through there, using every inch of suspension there as he comes flying through. And they've had a good run so far, other than that one flat.
One flat tire. Everybody being pretty conservative. They're running strong off and on, but relatively conservative.
This is Troy Herbst hoping for his 4th straight SCORE Class 1 points championship. He is the Class 1 leader in the Truggy.
Well, 145 miles into the race, they're pretty much through the bad, muddy sections. Now it starts to open up, heading down the coast. The whole pace is going to be faster.
Well, you know what happens too, though, Larry. I think the guys just settled in. Now they've got the race face on. They're going to go to business.
Here we go with our Pro Truck leader, Ivan.
Scott Steinberger, he's running good. Maybe a little hard, but time will tell.
Scott Steinberger through Santo Tomas and heading for the coast, team with Jay Reichert, flying the Lycos internet provider. Good to see these new sponsors coming on board. We saw Red Bull, now we see Lycos, and I think that the growth of the sport, the popularity is going to continue to grow. We're going to see more diverse advertisers coming in and getting involved.
I just love to see the new sponsors you mentioned. Nothing like it.
Rick Johnson and Rob Reinertsen, Chase Steinberger in the Pro Truck. This is turning out to be a great battle. You know, Larry's pointed out we're only 150, 200 miles into the race. You got to be patient, but the guys have settled into a nice pace, and this is really shaping up to be a great race.
Well, they're going for a points championship. You know, they got 2 races to go in our Road Truck Championship, so they're being careful.
Well, like in any form of racing, too, like Ivan said, they'll settle in. You'll see the veteran drivers are going to be the ones settling in first, and they're going to be the ones leading the race.
This is the Class 10. Steve Dan and Andy Myers from Newport Beach, California in the Jimco. A very strong limited class team as they come through. Nice and patient through that turn. We move on to Rod Hall. 16-time Baja 1000 winner, a genuine Hall of Famer. He's teamed with his son Chad and Roger Norman. That is one big vehicle. On board with Rod Hall, running strong in the stock full-size production class. And just prior to the race, we stopped by Rod Hall Hummer in Reno, and we talked about his new partnership with GM's Hummer division and their interest in off-road racing.
Rod Hall getting involved with Hummer has been a great thing for both teams. Hummer sees off-road racing as a very affordable, a very unique way to showcase their product. Because Hummer is designed for 60% off-road, 40% on-road. No other vehicle is designed like that. The H2 Hummer coming along is going to be best in class. So through desert racing, they're going to be able to focus their vehicle for the maximum performance at a very affordable cost. Well, Team Hummer, we race production class. It's called a full stock class. So what that basically means to you, the customer, the person that's the fan, it means that what we actually race is basically what Hummer sells. And so we're only allowed to do very small modifications to our vehicle. We cannot reinforce any of the mounting points on this car. We cannot put aftermarket non-production type parts on this car. So all of our steering components are what you run on your car. All of our drivetrain components is just exactly what comes in the car, because we cannot change and upgrade things like that. So that's a nice thing for Hummer to be able to, you know, promote as a very durable, a very actually fast vehicle off-road. Not only can we, you know, hit a big hole in the desert and survive and get to the finish line, but ladies and gentlemen, that's what you're buying. And that's a pretty good sales tool, I think.
You are watching Speed Vision's Desert Racing Series coverage of the AutoZone Tecate Baja 2000. We'll be right back with more action. Stay with us. Back to Speed Vision's presentation of the Baja 2000. And at Colonet, 200 miles into the race, we've got another new leader. The Iron Man, Ivan Stewart, bringing it through at a high clip. Ivan, the truck must be running well.
Well, it really is. Actually, it's running fantastic. But still, we got a long way to go. Still just taking care of it. Besides, I know this guy here is behind me, so we don't want to make any mistakes, mainly.
Now, this is Larry Ragland, a minute 14 seconds behind Ivan on the course, but on corrected time, 3:44. Larry, that's got to make you feel good.
Well, 3:44 is a nice lead, but, you know, race of this length and so many miles to go. So it's nice to be leading, but you're controlling the pace.
Dave Ashley, 9 minutes and 5 seconds behind Ragland. Then it's Tim Herbst, 2:55 behind Ashley, slowed somewhat with some flat tires, but they are off and running once again. The Herbst running very well today. That is Tim Herbst. Behind him, Class 1 leader Troy Herbst, 11 minutes and 8 seconds behind the overall leader, Ivan Stewart.
That's a good time to point out. Notice how the sand, it goes right into rock and then right into the mountains. Here's the first time we get to see the ocean. The terrain changes so quick.
Troy runs this for the next 70 miles through San Quintin and checkpoint 4. The Hummer Lyco Sky Camera catches up with Ivan Stewart, something many of these racers have not been able to do, leading the Baja 2000, heading south along the Pacific towards San Quintin. Larry Rossler will take over out of El Rosario. Larry Ragland in second in the unlimited truck. He'll turn the wheel over to Brian Stewart in the same area, about 375 miles into the race.
What a beautiful shot here, Todd. You can see it's just solid rocks, and you really got to pick your way through here, Ivan.
Well, you really do, because those rocks can fly up and do big damage to drive shaft, U-joints, that type of thing.
Tim Herbst and A.J. Martin leading the 2000 Duralast Desert Racing Series points race in the Unlimited Truck Series. Nobody has ever won this overall championship in consecutive years, and they are trying to do that this year. They got a great shot at it. Making their way through as we check in with the Class 1 leader. That's Troy Herbst and Todd Gorsuch, the 700 horsepower Ford in Smith-built truggy. Mike Smith pioneered this truck style, and if it works, people will copy it. There are several running in the open wheel class now, but this vehicle is just awesome.
You know, we talked about different types of terrain. Look at the silt here. Now, there's a little bit of everything in this race, believe me.
Here's Team Gordon. Now, Rob McCachran's driving. They're also a 700 horsepower Ford.
And a new overall leader, Larry Ragland. Last race for the impressive 6-cylinder Trailblazers. The midsize SUVs will be at Chevy dealers in the spring of 2001. The thinking here is economical SUV instead of the Excursion, the huge vehicle. And Ivan Stewart. Now, this may be the last time we see the Toyota, as PPI Motorsports and Toyota have parted ways, but hopefully that is not the case, gentlemen.
Well, we're looking for opportunities all the time, Todd, so you just never know.
So far, so good. That vehicle is running quite well. Behind Ivan, Tim Herbst, now running third overall. Looks like that right front tire may be going flat. We hear they've been having some tire problems in their camp.
You know, Todd, that's the compromise. If it is going, let's take a look at it, is flat or going low.
Yeah, it's going low.
That's a compromise you pay with. You get four-wheel drive, but you get more weight, not quite as agile. He's clipping those rocks.
What do you think, Larry? Tire's your best friend down here?
Well, you can see, yeah, absolutely, and you can see how narrow the road is. Here's Troy Herbst, and it doesn't take much of a little miscue, and you're in the bushes, you're in the rocks, and there you go.
You know, so many times, you've heard me say this, you just can't see it from the in-car camera, even from here, that there's big boulders within inches of each tire. And it just takes one on the sidewall to give you a flat tire.
Well, it's the people in the pits that make this thing go under Jeff Riddell's leadership. Herbst Motorsports, man, 17 pits with 200 people, and just in case, they have a transmission in each pit. So I'm thinking next time my transmission goes, I'm going to drive in one of those Herbst pits.
That's really incredible.
Pick up a new one.
That's
Great
a lot
support.
of transmissions.
Yeah, good people. Team Gordon. Now, this is a timed race. It's a race against the clock, but these guys are banging fenders nonetheless. The entries left to start, remember, 30 seconds apart. Now, it's not who gets to Cabo first. It's who gets there the quickest. But I know when you get on the course and you see someone, I know with you guys, that racing instinct just kicks in.
It really does. You know, the first guy to the finish line doesn't, it happens all forms of off-road races, that doesn't necessarily mean you won.
Well, all said and done, I think you're going to see there's going to be hours separating individuals when it comes to the finish line.
I agree with that, Larry.
The Duralast vehicle, Dave Ashley coming through. Will change drivers at Rancho Santa Ynez, about 125 miles further down the course. Back to our overall leader, Larry Ragland, also coming up on a driver change. Ivan's son, Brian, will get in near Santa Cecilia, about 60 miles down the course. What a beautiful shot as they've been racing all day long. I'm sure he's tired, but the vehicle's running well, and that's all that counts. We'll take a break as daylight moves to the west. You're watching Tecate Baja 2000 on Speed Vision. Stay tuned for more racing action. Cosmos Moon. Welcome back. This is the BF Goodrich pit, 410 miles into the race, and it's about 6:30 Sunday evening, day number 1. You are looking at the Class 1 leader. This is Troy Herbst coming in for a pit. Might want to mention Brian Stewart, Larry Rossler, and Dave Ashley went through about 5 minutes ago. The Vortec Trailblazer leads the Toyota by about a minute. Troy has stayed close to brother Tim, who's had 5 flat tires, and it's definitely, Larry, more than he can carry.
I tell you what, 5 flat tires during the day, that's horrible, but I mean, you can imagine changing them during the day, but I mean, how about changing them down in the middle of the desert at night?
Actually, I think Troy is actually loaning Tim tires.
Helps to have a brother on course. This is Rob McCachran and the Team Gordon Ford. Ford appears to be having an oil cooler problem. They will also take on some more tires. They can just get them off. Tim Herbst. Now he will get in, and he will also, tires again, the order of the day. That is Mike Smith giving some direction. There's a lot of work going on there.
Sure enough, they want to beat them out of the pits.
Tough to make a pass this late at night. Menards, folks, working hard. This is the Valdosa La Mexicana Logistics Gymco. The BF Goodrich pit at Rancho Santa Ynez. The 14 BF Goodrich pits will service more than 100 teams. Each pit is staffed with 20 people.
Well, you can imagine the logistics of putting that together. That's unbelievable, isn't it?
At San Ignacio, 900 miles into the race, we caught up with the PPI Toyota. PPI pits just north of San Ignacio, just another Baja 1000 left to race. It's 1:30 in the morning. Now, 28-minute pit stop for planned service, brake pad, seating service, tires, and seat adjustment to accommodate Ivan's height. And guys, as racers, I guess this has got to be a frustrating bit of time to sit and wait, but it's necessary, Ivan.
Well, it really is. I mean, we want to make sure the truck is right. We've got a long ways to go yet. Look it over, make sure nothing's leaking, and we got a long race yet.
And remember, Todd, at this point, we know we have a comfortable lead. We have 40 minutes plus. And you mentioned 1,000 miles left to go. So it's real important to double check everything.
It really is. The only thing we're concerned about, you can see the look on Bruce Nogrady with Toyota Racing Development, that Larry has detected a little bit of pop in the engine, but we hope it's an air cleaner, but time will tell here.
Well, there's only so much you can do out in the middle of the Mexican desert at 1:30 in the morning, so I guess it's race on for the folks at TRD and Toyota as Ivan jumps in and takes off. Let's take this moment to talk with Larry Rossler about his stint behind the wheel.
Out of Catavina, it was really technical, out of Silt. Then it opens up. When you go into Bay of LA, into El Arco, and this last little bit through here, the speed average. I looked down at one time at night on a dirt road, I was doing 122.
The Duralast pits, San Ignacio. Dave Ashley will get out. He has driven from San Ynez just over 400 miles. Dan will take it to Las Prietas, and Dave will drive to the finish. About an hour behind the Toyota, rumor has it that the Vortec Trailblazer has lost time after alternator and transmission changes. And they time in a 9-minute pit stop. Let's hear from Dave Ashley.
We've been fighting a little bit of overheating problem. I think we may have blown a head gasket, but we've been doing that since about mile 200, and stopping and adding water and putting stop leak in the system. So we're going to keep doing that and watching the gauges like hawks, and hopefully things will go well.
We'll be right back with more from Baja, Mexico. Stay with us. It's 6 a.m. Monday morning, day 2. Welcome back to coverage of the SCORE Baja 2000, the longest and richest desert race ever. Here's a Baja local, and here's Team Gordon under the knife. Let's hear from Bob.
We broke down about 7:30 last night, so that's how long we've been. And at that time it was a water pump, and I believe that's what was the culprit and caused the problems with the motor overheating and the led to the head gasket. So, we fixed the one problem, but still had another problem, and now we're going to fix the head gasket.
Rod Hall in the stock full-size truck class, the only racers compete in every Baja 1000. Won his class back in 1967. And has won 15 times since, 2 more than our own Larry Rossler with 12 Baja 1000 wins. That is just amazing. He just keeps coming back for more and more punishment.
Well, it's not the quickest vehicle out here. Obviously, his class is very fast, but it's heavy. It's got the diesel engine. But let me tell you, if anybody knows the pace and how to get down to Cabo San Lucas, it'll be Rod Hall and Roger Norman.
He's on pace to finish in approximately 55 hours, teamed up with his son Chad and Roger Norman, as you pointed out. Overall leader, a little quicker pace. This is Dan Smith at Constitucion, 1,260 miles into the race. Just a Baja 500 left to run. It's 9:15 Monday morning. They've been racing for about 24 hours. Unbelievable as we look at Class 1 leader Jimmy Smith in the Truggy, 13 minutes and 24 seconds down on the course, and just 9:56 down on the clock.
Here's Larry Ragland again. On the Trailblazer, they're 54 minutes behind the leaders of Ashley and Smith. But Todd, you mentioned 24 hours later. We started early in the morning, all day, all night, all day again, and there's going to be people going into that second night.
Well, and the other fact is we got only 500 miles to go, but think about the amount of abuse put on these race cars the last 1,500 miles. Amazing they're still running.
Dan Smith heading toward Las Positas. The word is now that the team of Stewart and Rossler, the Toyota, is in the trailer back at San Ignacio, some 390 miles back. Problems during the night as we look at our Class 1 leader, Jimmy Smith. 15 minutes behind the Duralast truck on the course, but still about 10 minutes down on the clock. And it's just amazing, as you guys pointed out, 24 hours of racing, and these things are still running.
Well, just being 10 minutes down behind the Duralast truck, with that many miles left to go. And remember earlier, Dan talked about the water problem with their motor, so anything can happen.
Larry Ragland and Brian Stewart in the Trailblazer, now just 2 minutes behind Jimmy Smith and absolutely flying. Say what you will about the paint job or the look here, but proof is in the pudding, as they say. The Vortec is really putting up a name for itself.
Extremely durable, no doubt about that.
Just out of La Paz now, this is our overall leader, Dave Ashley, Dan Smith, the Duralast Ford. 1,500 miles into the race. It's noon Monday. Larry Ragland has gotten past Jimmy Smith and trails Dave Ashley by 10 minutes. Since Ragland started ahead of Ashley, he's going to have to get past him one more time to win.
Well, he's definitely making up some time on that Duralast truck.
He has to pass him and make up a few minutes, so this could be exciting to finish.
Jimmy Smith just 1 minute behind could still be good for the overall win. Doesn't have to pass either Raglan or Ashley, just get to within 5 minutes of them. Overall leader, Ashley Smith Ford, late afternoon, heading toward the surf town of Todos Santos. Just 90 miles to Cabo at this point, gentlemen. You got to just feel it. It's time to drop the hammer.
But Todd, I'm telling you that these guys can hear every little noise that the car's making, every squeak, and you just worry to death about this point.
Well, here comes Larry Raglan and Brian Stewart. Now, they're only 1 minute and 30 seconds behind Ashley and Smith. Now, they're making a move on him, but you remember, Ashley and Smith, maybe their pace is a lot slower. Raglan's pace is really strong. He knows he has to pass him and beat him to the finish line.
That's right. He actually has to get by them and then put time on them to win the race.
Class 1 leader impossible. Overall leader, terrible Herbst Truggy, just 30 seconds behind Raglan, and would now appear to be the new overall leader. We're going to factor in it's not the fastest, it's the quickest one to get down there. Look at that shot.
That's Baja right there. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Ryan and Mark Miller spent 3 hours getting back on course out of Ensenada, and they have passed every entry but Duralash, Raglan, and the Truggy. They have got to be the comeback story of the race. Second in Class 1, Gary Mark Wyrick. Mark is going to take it all the way to the finish line. It's Monday evening, 1,600 miles, 30 hours into the race, still too close to call. We'll be back with the exciting conclusion after this. Welcome to Cabo, and here's our first finisher, the Ashley Smith Ford. And it's official, the SCORE Baja 2000 winners. Let's hear from Dave Ashley.
Larry Raglan was pushing me so hard. I hope it'll show up later, but I mean, we were 14 seconds apart 65 miles from here or less, and I knew I had to stay ahead of him, and I wasn't doing much good doing it. You know, I mean, I was staying just in front of him, but just thank the good Lord I was able to do it. I know he had an accident, and I heard that he's all right, so I'm sorry for him, but I'm glad for our team.
I started racing down here in 1969 myself, and when Dave took over running and driving, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. I just finished fishing the Bisbee, and I didn't win the $1 million, but this is better, believe me.
We lost our brakes just coming out of La Paz. We're only running with front brakes. We could have had this overall. We just had a great day. What can I say about Mike Smith? He builds the best off-road trucks in the world. Troy and Mr. Herbst and all the people that made this happen, to have an opportunity to come run the 2000, win it in Class 1, second overall. You know, 53 years old, that ain't too shabby.
We had a game plan to just pace ourselves and run, and it ended up being a little bit too short for the overall, but winning Class 1 and finishing this race is a feat in all of itself. And I got to, Trailburst Motorsports is one awesome group of guys, and they never give up. And the trophy truck's on us in the way right now, and if they're champions in the trophy truck, champions in Class 1. I'm just happy to be here. It's absolutely great.
The official results of the Tecate SCORE Baja 2000 are brought to you by APP Forged one-piece wheels, light and strong for rugged performance. The wheel used by the SCORE 2000 Baja champions.
So the final results of the SCORE Baja 2000 class results and driver of record in the unlimited truck. It was Dave Ashley and Dan Smith out of Riverside, California. 32 hours, 15 minutes, and 19 seconds with an average mile per hour of 52.061. In Class 1, it was Troy Herbst and Jimmy Smith, second overall, 32.50.59. In Class 1, 260 and 100, Becky Freeman from Henderson, Nevada with a time of 38 hours, 37 minutes, and 20 seconds. In Class 8, Kirk Leduc out of Cherry Valley, California. In the Class Stock Full, Jeremy Spurkoff from La Mesa, California. In the Pro Truck class, it was Scott Steinberger out of Cypress, California. In Class 10, Steve, Dan, and Andy Myers out of Newport Beach, California. In Class 7S, Joe Custer from Fountain Valley, California. In Class 3, Darren Skilton out of Long Beach. And in Class 7, Jeff Lewis from San Clemente, California with a time of 50 hours, 50 minutes, and 25 seconds. Before we say goodbye, our thanks to Lorenzo Pearson at West Coast Metric Museum for allowing us to use this beautiful studio as our set. Final thoughts, Larry, on the 2000 Epic Journey.
Well, Todd, obviously a little bit of a disappointment for us, but this race brought 262 entrants together, a total of 900 drivers and riders, and a remarkable 70% of the people finished this event. Sal Fish did a fantastic job. His staff, the race course, really phenomenal job. Fantastic race. I hope he can do it again sometime.
All right, and Ivan, for you.
Well, if you heard Sal Fish at the awards banquet, he talked about doing another 2,000-mile event in 2 or 3 years, possibly from Cabo, San Lucas to Ensenada, so we're heading north. If he can get the support from Baja Norte and Baja Sur, he's going to do that one. Yeah, I got to congratulate Troy Herbst for winning his 4th consecutive overall championship and then just barely beating out Becky Freeman. I think it was a great year, Todd. I really do.
A great year and a great adventure. On behalf of the Ironman Ivan Stewart and his partner LR Larry Rossler, I'm Todd Harris saying so long. We'll see you next time right here on Speed Vision. So long, everybody. The next race on the 2000 Speed Vision Desert Racing Series is the Best in the Desert Las Vegas 200. Check your local TV listings for the air dates and times here on Speed Vision.
The AutoZone Ducati SCORE Baja 2000 has been brought to you by